Hi, I'm Simon Rushton and this is Taxi Chronicles Podcast. On this podcast, we spontaneously interview unsuspecting passengers with their permission, allowing them to share their intimate life stories and concerns. As our slogan states, real riders, real stories. Some riders prefer to be anonymous, while others ask me to tell their story later on. Either way, there are all genuine 5 to 10 minutes stories, so sit back and enjoy this episode. Morning. Yes, we're back with another episode, another rider, another story. Today we have a journalist in the car. He's went to Goldsmith University, so you know he's the real deal because that's a university known for journalists. And he's also an avid football player, I should say, probably fan as well. And we're just going to interview him about what's it like being a journalist for Apple and his career and how he got into it, what motivates him and what a typical day is like as a journalist. So welcome, Toby.
Hi, thank you.
Okay. So what's a typical, how did you get into it first of all? What made you want to be a journalist?
I guess I studied English at Goldsmiths, as you said at the intro there, and everyone around me was going into like teaching and stuff like that, and you know, journalism as an industry sort of, it was just narrowing down, and it just wasn't what it was supposed to be, you know. And it was pretty obvious, but I thought while I was at uni I could try and, you know, write a few articles here for free for people and get some experience and just go through that way, simply because it was just what I was around. You know, if I'm around music 24/7 and I'd like to write about it and speak about it, it wasn't too much. It wasn't a taxing internship like working a day at a particular place and taking a lot of time away from me. So I thought, yeah, I could definitely stick with that. And yeah, I've just stuck with it and just continued with it.
So what do you do journalism in? Like what field? I've interviewed a couple of journalists, some who like fashion, some were just about gossip channels. I'm not sure if you call that a journalist if it's just gossip.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's all content at the moment, and content is king, you know. So that's what we're realizing now in the massive shift. You know, I grew up on just reading magazines and newspapers and wanting to have a feature and a byline, and you know. And I guess I just always wanted to follow that into, and just having that pride of having things published, and then.
When you say a byline, what's a byline? Is that like a paragraph, the article?
Oh no,
thing?
Just your name at the bottom of the thing that just says this was you that did that, you know, and that was all you needed. You know, it wasn't like today where you need an Instagram channel to go with it and a podcast on the side and 10,000 followers to be, you know, in your profession. It was just, this is my work here, where it exists, and this is a byline, and you crack on with it.
But that's interesting. Do you have to have that?
It's not you have to have it, but I guess in any industry now, you know, you get a footballer in the car, they'll tell you, you know, the footballer with the bigger deal is the one with, you know,
followers.
You know,
because of sponsorships and stuff.
It's not just that, it's just sort of, you have to market yourself, and a company needs to know that you're also being an extra arm of promotion for themselves, you know?
Okay.
And that's what you just find, I guess, in a lot of fields.
Then that brings into question, when you market yourself as an employee, but you market yourself privately, do they have command over what your social media like?
No. I think that's what people are finding a lot of joy in now, particularly if you're in a sort of career, just having something on the side that interests you. I guess, you know, including you right now, you know, something that you can really work on and build.
Because as a podcaster, what's happening a lot lately is that people, you get these agents who come and say, yeah, I'll make you famous, and we will own your podcasting or your social media. We'll run all that for you. But what they don't tell them is that they're going to control it and own it. So if you're very successful and then you don't like the deal anymore, you can't take all your content with you.
So are you saying essentially them coming to you and pitching this?
Yeah, if they're seeing you're doing something. See, like me, I've been doing my podcast 6 months now. I haven't got a lot of, I'm not like the most famous, but it's growing steadily. Yeah, the amount of views and stuff. We're going to be launching on YouTube soon, so that will push us up even more. But obviously this is just audio. So what's happening now, I'm getting emails from people who are saying, are you interested in being part of this, or kind of doing a deal with us, collaboration, or just signing to us and letting us run what you're doing anyway? I'm not interested, because I'd rather work with people I know.
Yeah.
In that respect.
I think that's the answer as well now in the podcast space. Everyone understands that it's the consistency that you've got to keep going. If you look at all the top podcasts, they've just continued going and then grown their niche. And secondly, ownership. People are, because it's the gold rush, is what you're saying. It's why people are, mining for anything that they think might potentially pop up, and they're trying to get a stake in it now, because a good podcast can hold you for a lot longer than an album can.
I had that conversation with a music artist, not a music artist, a music is it producer or something? He had a nice flat in Battersea overlooking the Thames,
right,
like one of those penthouse, and he was saying he's been in the music business, and I was like, okay, but he doesn't actually make any music, he just kind of markets it. But then he goes on YouTube and things and just finds people who are doing well anyway. So, for instance, and I said, well, you're not really doing anything.
They're not.
No, but that's what they do. They're not. It's like, and then he kind of got sensitive about it. So I said, well, from what you're saying, because I wasn't trying to insult him, I was trying to understand. Do you understand what he does? And then I wish I'd recorded that episode, but I didn't ask him. But by the time we got into it, it's a bit too late to ask, oh, can I record this? But anyway, I worked out that there's two kind of clients. You've got those ones who want to be a star.
Right.
And you have to, they good looking or whatever, they can't sing, so you get everything for them and you sign them into a contract. But then you've got these like grime artists that are already doing their own thing. A bit like the rap game in the 80s, and they don't really need you. And that's what my point was to him. He didn't appreciate it, but I was saying they don't really. He said, well, they need to, if they want to go on that next level.
Yeah, he's got a point in that.
Yeah, but he was calling them all pop. He was saying grime was pop, rap was pop. If you go into the top of the pops chart, then you're automatically pop. And I said, well, you're not. How can you be? He said, well, because it's a popular, you're saying you're popular in music, you've reached a level. I said, yeah, you may be in their chart, but your music is not of that genre.
I think music of that genre can still be pop in a sense where it can be popular. I get his point, but you wouldn't categorize it as pop, no.
Yeah, you'll just say it's popular.
Yeah.
But it's still rap, it's popular rap. So it's rap, but it comes under the most popular. But to put it into pop, I think is somewhat of an insult, because you're taking away from what truly it is. If you see what I'm saying. He didn't appreciate that in that respect.
Who was the very first person that you had on this podcast?
It was me.
Okay. Oh, so it was the intro.
Yeah, well, it was me sharing an experience.
Right.
Because I was told to tell everybody my experience about, it's called the vulnerable position of a taxi driver. Basically, a customer, a woman, was coming on to me because she's upset with her boyfriend. And it's how I was a very good gentleman, as I am, and refrained from, you could say taking advantage of her, but I would argue that I think she's trying to take advantage of me. And she think, but yeah, it was an amusing story, it's an interesting story. I've had loads and loads of things. So, sorry, back to this journalist, what you do. What is it exactly you do for Apple?
So I guess I've been in music journalism mainly for quite a while. I've been at different publications over the years. I recently moved to Apple in February of this year, and it was just a really exciting role where I could sort of work across editorial content in music, in TV, in books, and mainly music, of course, which is still what I do. And we do regular interviews for our music store. We do book reviews. It's a lot of reading. I haven't read so much since I was at uni, so that was a challenge I didn't really see coming. I just grabbed it really when the opportunity came up straight away, and I just sort of backed myself to flow with it and find my feet. And I feel like I'm in a good spot now. It's a lot to take to go from where I was before, which was like a quite small media company, to like a corporate.
And it's all about music.
Sorry?
It's all about music.
Mainly what I do is about music.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is it about any particular genre of music or music?
Yeah, I'm mainly on the rap with the black music side, essentially.
Okay.
You know, we saying yesterday, like, you know, urban is a word that we don't really use anymore, but we haven't replaced it with a catch-all word that can, you know, term black music. So we might just run with black music. You know.
Well, why would I always thought urban was the politically correct term for black?
But now that's the word we're not using. So
why?
Because urban doesn't really mean black in the sense of the word, the etymology of the word.
Yeah, so why don't they just say black then?
Yeah, so I think we're going to just run with black.
But then you could argue most music is, if not influence, that originated, thank you, or is of black culture.
Of course.
Because if you look at what the Europeans had at the start, it was Morris dancing, folk dancing.
All across Europe?
Northern Europe.
Okay.
Sorry, it was Northern England, that kind of thing. It was different kind of music. And then through migration and everything, people find out about different instruments and various things like that. I love history, you see.
Same, yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I know about that kind of thing. So when you're writing these articles, I interviewed a journalist the other day, and she was saying with those celebrities, they come to her and they tell her what they say, oh yeah, I'm going out to, I don't know, so-and-so club tonight.
Right.
And we did this or we did that because they're trying to keep their name in the paper. and she said, do you get those music, that same thing?
No, I guess what we work mainly with new releases, because if you think about the sort of Apple Music Store, every week now it's become like sort of, you know, the replacement for HMV, or, you know, just where people get their music from. It's where, you know, people generally get the new releases, and it just comes fast, around and rapid, and we sort of work across the new releases. So the next, you know, big album coming out, you know, in the black music space, you know, we're going to work on either playlisting it.
What? Go on.
Sorry, go on.
No, go on. You were saying.
Yeah, we'll give it like a headline playlisting slot, and then we'll interview them for their album. We'll either do an interview or track by track. I'll either write a review of the album. We'll just try and work around some content to boost it. You know, in my head, I kind of think of it as we work in an online musical Waterstones, and every week we've got to get the displays ready, and we've got to make sure it's looking right for the people that are going to come on the Friday to stream, essentially, because yeah, it's about the streams at the moment.
We've got sorry, I was going to say, you've got Apple Podcasts, you've got iTunes, and you've got Apple Music. Are those all they all different things, or?
Listen, I wish I had it. I would be in an Uber. I'd be speeding past in something else. I mean, yeah. Apple. I mean, it changes the sort of what we offer. So now it's Apple Music. There's Apple Music Radio. There's Apple Podcasts. So the podcast is like a hosting platform for the podcast.
Yep. So that's what I'm on.
Yeah.
But people look for me on iTunes.
They can find you pretty much across. Yeah.
But some platforms they can't find me, but other platforms they can. So I'm confused.
Which platforms can they can find you?
Well, Apple, I think it's iTunes. Apple Podcasts, they can.
Right. Yeah, I think iTunes might, or depending on their iTunes, it might just be set to their music. So they'd have to go into the specific podcast app. Okay. I'm guessing, yeah.
Okay, excuse me, I'm with you there. All right. So tell me, what have you learnt that you wish you knew when you started this whole industry?
Oh, the entire industry?
Yeah, your whole, how many years you've been doing this for?
Oh, I'd say since I left university, so maybe like 10 years, 8 years.
Really? You don't look that old. Bloody hell.
Gosh. What would I wish I had learned? I guess it's the same with everyone. You just a bit more patience. You know, I remember being young and thinking I was so clever and knew everything, and you know, every idea that I had was the greatest idea, and anyone in the way didn't see the vision. And you just have to understand that like, it's supposed to play out in a way where sometimes I remember some of these decisions that saved me. You know, at a time when I thought, yeah, we're doing this. But I guess. You try and learn on your feet, try and learn quickly, you know, and pick up from stuff. So you're not the person making the same mistakes, you know.
Do you have a mentor in the business?
Yeah, I try to.
Okay, so you find yourself a mentor?
Oh no, the other way around, I guess.
The company gives you a mentor?
Oh, do you mean at Apple or personally?
No, just in both.
Yeah, I mean, the company, you're supposed to get in there and get it done. But what we do have is we have like a really strong and specific, you know, defined teams that you can really work and rely on. And it's the communication that I'm noticing that is the difference here. It's the fact that everything is like no excuse. It's supposed to go at a set time, you know, and it works so easily and seamlessly. You forget that it's, you know, it's supposed to be difficult.
I see what you mean. When you've got a good team, I used to be in the military, so when you've got a good team, you can get so much done, and it runs so much smoother.
It's exactly like that. I remember the day of an event we had a big agenda event, and the boss of like Apple Music in the UK, like I just asked him, like, you know, I think maybe my first week, maybe my second week, trying to be like, oh, I'm talking to the boss, like, oh, how do you feel for the event? And he just looked at me and was like, we execute on a high level. Like, he's got a Scottish accent, but I'm not going to do it. He's like, we execute at a high level.
Highlander.
And he just walked off. Yeah. And I was like, whoa. And it was a good event as well.
Yeah, okay. So what would you say your future? What's the future for Toby?
I guess I've always wanted to be involved in sort of release of music. So I don't know whether that's management, independent record label of some sort. But yeah, I kind of want to gain more experience. That's the thing. I'm just learning that. There's so much more to learn and so much more to see as the game moves. But I guess at some point I can see myself on that side of things. Yeah.
What's the worst day you've had in the business where you've just thought, bloody hell, maybe I picked the wrong thing? Have you ever had a day like that?
Oh yeah, loads. I mean, yeah,
loads.
Do you know what? Yeah, sometimes a small mistake is a massive mistake when you're supposed to put words down that are great. Do you know what I mean? So I guess it's not the end of the world, but you just obsess over silly, stupid things that you do. You know. Is
that like a form of writer's block?
I mean, writer's block is going to come, is what I've realised. You know, whether it's like a red light. It's gonna come, and when you're on a good run, you're on a good run. And this lockdown is just teaching me sort of different ways to sort of get past it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, is there techniques that you would advise a young up-and-coming person who wants to join your industry that how to not get into writer's block? Is there a way, you know, like some people don't exercise in the morning, they don't feel as strong.
Yeah. For me, it's just getting up and getting some fresh air. Like sometimes it's even just going downstairs and switching my environment up, and on the way down there, I've got a sentence. I run back upstairs and write it down, and I'm like, okay, I'm back in the game again. You know.
Okay.
So it's just just freeing your mind a little bit. Sometimes when you're tired, just accept it. You're tired, and it's hard because it's always about deadlines. You know, you're chasing time. So when the time's going away, you feel like you have to sit at it until it's going, but sometimes you just have to step away completely.
I suppose you feel like you have to fill in the paragraph. But then you say you're a journalist for Apple.
Yeah.
But Apple, they have a newspaper or something?
No.
I just realised.
No. We basically, across anything to do with Apple's content services, which is the music, the podcasts, the TV,
all that writing stuff that those people kind of flick past to try and get to the music.
Sometimes that's us. Yeah, a lot of times.
Yeah, I was going to say, because where else would you be writing? Because, do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to figure, I just realised you're digital.
Yeah.
So, like, the Times and the other people I've interviewed, they're just, you know, everybody knows that paper, whether it's the Times or the Guardian or whatever. But you guys so all your writing goes on the server, on the website.
Reach it on your phone. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, all of the content there you could probably reach on your phone.
So you're interviewing all these guests.
Yeah.
Who's the most interesting guest you've had?
Interesting. It's always the musicians, because they've always got stories to it. You know. At the moment, it's a lot of drill artists, because they're the guys that are really releasing in the rap scene. But I guess you really experience sort of some of these people that might have criminal records, or they might have come out of prison, or all that kind of controversy around them.
Yeah.
And they're trying to move on and release music. And at one time we were asked to sign a non-disclosure to speak to an artist, and which doesn't make sense, because you're trying to speak to someone and they want you to sign a non-disclosure when your job is to disclose the interview. Do you know what I mean? But I think it was just to protect them about anything he said, and you know, this or anything he said wrong might get him in trouble or recalled back to prison. There was one artist.
So does that mean he has to see the article before it's printed?
All kinds of things like that, like specific questions they'd want to see, and then yeah. But Apple policy is pretty tight as far as, you know, this is what we can do, this is what we can't do, and that's what I do like. You know, like my boss and everyone will back me up and say, no, we're not going to do that if they're asking us to do that. You know, like let's be serious.
Okay.
Which I like, because a lot of times it's just unfair constraints on these young artists. You know, it's just, you know. Yeah, I mean, it's their situations, but when I speak to them for these interviews, sometimes I get a sense of really how tough it is when they're trying to move on with their life, and, you know, yeah.
Yeah, you want to. Yeah, I see. You want to help. You don't want to. You want to be a tool to enable them to free themselves, not to enable them to constrain themselves.
Yeah.
In that respect, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
I'm trying to think who an interview I really liked.
Or have you ever had an interview person where you just thought, I don't want to talk to you anymore? I don't want, you're a nightmare.
Yeah, I had one years ago, years and years ago, at the W Hotel. It was with the Wu-Tang Clan.
Oh, is it?
And it was Method Man, and he was just in a foul mood. I was so young, I was maybe like 19, 20, and it was my old editor. I was writing, it was when I was at uni, as I said at the start, it's when I was at university writing for MTV Online. So the editor there was a guy that gave me sort of like my start writing, you know, someone that saw me and said, okay, I'll give you a column. JP, Joseph Patterson. And he was never really into like US rap too much. So whenever something popped up, he's like, Toby, do you like this? And I'm like, yeah, cool. Like, do you know what I mean? I'm just started and I'm about to interview legends. So I got there and they're at the hotel. And at that time, I just think that, like, you know, they're always on top form as they're meant to be. And, you know, that you're just going to see them as their characters. But I essentially saw, 3 or 4 middle-aged men that had just landed and they were grumpy, and I think they just had a fight, in fact. So Ghostface walks right past me. And as I came in, and he's my favourite of all the Wu-Tang Clan. So I was a bit like shocked that he just like, it was like, oh, here's Toby from MTV, and he was like, he's out. Straight out of the room. But I was like, okay, cool. So I went there, and they said, the woman, the publicist, pulled me aside and said, I think there's been
altercation.
Yeah, like on the way here or in the morning or something like that. So he won't come to the interview, and I'm going to split them up in different rooms. So the rest went in one room, and then Method Man and YouGod went in the other room. So yeah, it's a long story, this whole interview, but it was just a bit nervy and tense the whole time. I remember one time he said, oh, that's a stupid question you asked me. No, he said, that's a young nigger question you asked me. I mean, he may have had a point. When I look back at the question, I was thinking, would I have asked that question now? No. Should he have? Yeah. Had been trying to intimidate me the whole interview because he was in a bad mood? Probably not either, you know?
Yeah, well, he can do what he wants to, innit?
So yeah,
and the publicist, you know, yeah, go on.
Yeah. So the minute, that's it, as I walked in, I just remembered, as I walked in, she was like, oh, there's Toby from MTV. At that point, I'd never even stepped foot in, you know, MTV, the building. And he was like, oh, tell MTV they can suck my dick for that bullshit they did to my video. And I was like, I had no idea what he was talking about. You know?
Oh yeah, so you're getting the flack from someone else has done.
No, I had no idea. So at that point, I'm like, okay, it's one of those interviews. And for a while, I just remember thinking it was my fault. Like, oh yeah, I didn't really do this or do that well. But obviously, I'd handle that a lot differently now. Do you know what I mean? With my experience. So that's something like, yeah, you just learn quickly. What
would you have handled differently?
I would have pushed back on the questions, and, you know, I mean, okay, to be fair, handled differently, I wouldn't have asked that first question. But not the first question, but whatever the question was that got him in a mood. But I would have easily picked up that he's in a mood. It's nothing to do with me. And if that's the type of interview he wants, you know, I'm going to be, you know, civil and get the interview I need. Yeah. And if he needs to say anything out of line, that's on him. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So would you prompt him in the sense of, so what I'm thinking, because a lot of jobs are dealing with people. Do you see what I mean? It's knowing how to deal with people. It's like people get in the taxi, they're in a bad mood or what have you.
Yeah.
So what I'm thinking at is, I'd just to say, what is it, Ghostface or whatever his name is.
He just had a bad day, you know.
I'd just say, mate, I can see you've had a bad day.
Yeah.
You don't want to do this, but just help a brother out. I'll make you look good. Yeah, just roll with the questions and then we go.
I mean, to be fair, as the interview went on, you know, I just realised that once we started getting into a few other questions and we were having a laugh, you know, that was okay. But in the back of my mind, as I said, with the sort of mistakes, I just knew that he didn't want to do it, and it was probably on me because I asked a bad question. But looking back, I would have just, like I said, just respond back to that, and then continue with the interview and try and get what we got out of it. But towards the end, he did try and pull me aside and give me advice. And
yes, that's great then.
Yeah.
So he's had loads of interviews. Okay. So is mainly American rappers then you interview?
At the moment, it's mainly UK, which I like. I think there's just so much more going on in our scene that I could speak about and bring my knowledge of having been around the music and grown up around the music to it. So it's mainly new releases that come out in the UK. I've done a few international this year. Burna Boy.
Okay.
That's been the biggest international.
All right. I'm going to get told off here.
Yeah.
Not by you.
Yeah.
I got some listeners who say, Simon, you need to be up to speed on music. Because I'm not.
Music on. Get in between trips.
Because you're naming these names, and I'm like, yeah, okay.
Well, they didn't let you have no music in the army, no?
Listen, I'm too busy thinking about other things.
Yeah, late night grind session, no?
But still, so. I know about this Skepta guy now because I interviewed a Sudanese model the other day, and she did.
I'm actually on my way to interview Skepta now. That's actually crazy.
Oh, is it? Okay. Well, all right, that's good.
Skepta and Wizkid. Oh god. Yeah.
Well, all right, I won't pretend I know who Wizkid is.
It's been cancelled twice this week, so I'm hoping it happens. But we're going to Chiswick, the studio.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's where we're going now.
I shouldn't say that. Maybe cut that out if that's their location. Maybe cut that out.
I don't think many people would know where it is.
Okay.
But still,
yeah, that's crazy. You said that.
Yeah, but no, because the Sudanese model told me she did a music video with him.
Right.
And I didn't know who he was.
Everyone not name dropping Skepta in this taxi.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, people will say who, if he's the latest guy, then that's some good thing. So you don't do anything with the Afro beats thing?
I do. Wizkid, the other guy, is Afro beats.
Oh, okay.
That we're seeing today.
All right. Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
got an album called Made in Lagos.
All right. Well, I'm learning then. I'm definitely learning. So, last but not least, you talked quite a while. What's the impact you want to have on the world?
The impact I want to have on the world, I guess what's pleasing to me right now about just the scene and what I work in is that I can see the impact, people like myself, people that come from where I come from and look like me are having on the world, and I just want to play my role in that also, because it's going to be a different world going forward, and it's important that we sort of push the culture forward in a positive way and in a bright way.
Okay, that's good. And is Apple? Is there lots of diversity in Apple? In your industry, what you're doing?
I'd say there's been so much more in the year that I've been here, which is probably something you'd expect from a corporate company given the year of Black Lives Matter and everything like that.
Oh, so they wanted to change
What's been pleasing to me, I think a lot of people have taken it on board, and particularly in my team, we brought on me, myself and a woman, and diversified our team massively. It's a small team, it's 4, so it was just 2 men, and they realised they needed to cover their blind spots. So
wait a minute, there's a 4 team of people
in terms of editorial content.
Who are talking about rap music. No,
they cover their fields,
What
I guess there's like an alternative field, there's like a pop field, and there's the big editor. So he's sort of editor for Europe or European editorial content. Corporate titles get my head in a mess, but something to do with that. So I was supposed to be there 6 minutes ago.
Okay. So on that note, let me end this.
Where are we?
Thanks a lot. We hoped you liked that episode. Keeping in mind, we never know who we're going to interview. We post twice a day, 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. GMT. Have you ever considered the future economies to invest in? Why not listen to our sister podcast, Africa Investor Stories? Considering Africa has the fastest growing economies and population on Earth, and has done for many years, it holds 30% of the world's known natural resources. We publish twice a week, Tuesday with a guest investor, and Fridays talking about investment, politics and history, providing a clear understanding for any potential investor.